You must have done something right to have reached 100 years.
Well, I think a lot of it's just in the gene. And my mother was 101 and I had an uncle 105. So I think it passes along like some diseases that people get, like poor hearts.
Right?
Yeah, I think the other does too.
Okay.
But I never hurt myself or anything to, like getting on drugs and things like that to hurt me.
Okay.
So I couldn't answer that much better, I guess. Just take a normal life and keep going. That's the way it is.
And what have you seen in your 100 years?
That'll take a long time to answer. I've seen the Roaring Twenties, Al Capone, and something like that, and the prohibition of alcohol in the 20s. Then we went through the Roaring 30s, or the Dirty 30s. That was a big depression of the world. I was 19 when it hit.
Were you affected by the Depression?
Sure, I was 19 years old when that depression hit. The news has it that the depression hit on November the 19th, but actually it hit in August. I was hauling wheat for a man by the name of Lucian Coffee. Today, the elevator was paying $1.35 for wheat. The next day morning I went to work and the old men were standing around and I went over and they was called. The elevator had called them and wheat had dropped to 65 cents a bushel from just an overnight. Well, they talked a while and they said, well, it won't last long. They said they're going to build bins in the barn to put it in. That's what we did. But when they took it out in the next March to pay their mortgage and stuff, it had dropped to 35 cents a bushel and it stayed there for about 10 years. Yep. And the same way with everything.
time. How did you get to school?
We walked through mud roads and snow banks in the wintertime. We walked over them. There was a woman that we walked by. I'll never forget that woman. She was a Mrs. Mosey, and she was about halfway to school. And when your ears turn white, frozen, and white spots on your cheek, she always had a hot fire going in her kitchen stove. And about 10 of us would go in on that stove, in that kitchen, on her kitchen floor with muddy and snow-covered boots. She would have the reservoir full of hot water and her oven door down, and she watched the clock, and she'd say, well, children, it's time to go or you're going to be late for school again. I'd like to see the woman now that let about 10 kids with boots like that on her kitchen floor. I don't think you'll find one, but I often think of that woman.